Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily on this Friday edition. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Krysan, TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, and coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios. And we are presented each and every day, week, year by L'Auberge Casino in Baton Rouge. The Barstool Sportsbook at L'Auberge. Go check it out. There's no better place to watch a game, eat some great food, and hang out. And you can you're like literally 10 feet away from the sports book window. Blackjack tables are inside the sports book, you name it. So today on Sports Shorts, obviously, we'll talk a little bit about the Baton Rouge Rougarou. They're red hot. Don't let the Rouge get hot. They won 2 in a row, including last night's Iron Man night where Davis Mesh played all 9 positions for the Baton Rouge Rougarou. A really cool thing he did. And look, Tommy, the thing about it that was really neat was he, pitching and playing catcher are obviously the 2 toughest parts of that when you play all different 9, positions throughout the game. Mesh went in there and obviously not pitched in high school, but he hadn't pitched in college. He's been out of high school for 3 years or whatever. And he had to throw in the eighth inning. And it was the 8th inning where the Rougarou were leading 4-1 in a crucial part, and gave up a run, but was able to get out of it. Did a nice job. And then of course Rougarou won 4-2. Connor Spencer, the Ole Miss commitment, he went ahead and sealed the deal. But it was pretty awesome for the awesome night. Something you won't see maybe ever again, TK.
Well, it's happened 5 times in the major leagues, most recently 2017. The Twins did it. But look, Ronnie, I've seen a lot of baseball games. You know that. It was really cool to watch that last night. Now, and I think I'm correct. He didn't have any plays when he was at third where he started the game. He didn't make any plays at short. But at second, first, he made a nice stretch on a bang-bang play at first. And then he not scooped it out at third, but it was a little bit low. He had some fly balls to him when he was in the outfield. And he pitched the 8th inning, got up a little jam. Pitching coach Sean Teague, his wheels were turning like, okay, it's now 4-2, and they got the go-ahead run at the plate and the tying run on base. And he got the guy out with a changeup, beautiful down in the zone changeup. And the crowd erupted when he got the out to get out of the jam. And then, of course, Connor Spencer came in the 9th. But I've seen a lot of things at the ballpark, but it was really cool to watch. We kept calling him Iron Man Davis Mesh to bounce around the field. And of course, the coaching staff was behind him, Coach Cody Jameson, and the other players were moving around a little bit. It was a little nightmare on the scorebook, but we got it all straight and finished and finalized and whatnot. But it was fun to watch, and I hope people that saw it on TCL TV or at Pete Goldsby Field enjoyed it, because, like you said, it's not something that happens every often at all at any level of baseball.
Yeah, it definitely takes a special athlete and a guy got a skill set and want to. So that was a neat thing. And then look, this Saturday is going to be another neat thing. We've got the world's tallest and smallest umpires going at it. They're going to be working the game on Saturday. We got a 7'2" umpire, and we got a 4'2" 8-year-old umpire, Lathan the umpire kid, which you need to give him a follow on social media. But it's going to be an awesome night.
Well, yeah, and as I mentioned, my youngest grandson plays travel ball with Lathan, the kid umpire. So I know the family, and I've talked to the dad about it, and he's a cool kid. He's a good umpire. He worked the plate for 2 games down at AP Baseball in Gonzales, and he, nobody had any complaints with him behind the plate, and he's got all the hand signals. He's got it all down, and he's phenomenal. Yeah, go follow Lathan, the kid umpire, on social media. He's got almost 100,000 followers when you combine all the platforms. But that's going to be fun Saturday night. Brazos Valley Bombers back in town. The team they beat last night. And it's going to be fun. Need to see you at Goldsby Field.
Yeah, 7 p.m. start on that. And listen, I know it's hot out there, but trust me, the way that our ballpark is, I got the roof on it, the way the sun sets down in the west, it's actually by about 7:30. It's pretty comfortable. It's got a little breeze and everything to it as well. So come on out. We've got the L'Auberge Lounge party deck. We got a few tickets available for that, where you get all you can eat food and drink, including beer. We've got the Kona Ice out there. We've got the fun jumps for the kids. That's included with their ticket. and great food. Saturday's actually Christmas special burger in Paradise Saturday, where we'll be at a special price Christmas special burger and price frozen daiquiri. So we'll see you on Saturday. All right, TJ. The All-Star break come up in Major League Baseball, and I was looking at the standing, and it's not the All-Star game is not the halfway point of the year. It's it's a little past that. But most people in their mind think first half, second half when you get to the All-Star break. The Major League Baseball went to this 3 wild card team system a couple years ago. So there's 3 teams out of National League, 3 teams out of American League, and because of that, um, any team that is within, say, 10 games of qualifying for the playoffs feels like they have a shot. I mean, if you're 5 games back or 8 games back and you got, 60 games to make the playoffs. And the great thing about this system is right now there's like 9 teams in the National League that are still alive and 8 teams in the American League that are still alive. But what are some of the biggest surprises that you've seen so far this year?
Well, I think the adjustment to the new rules, the pitch clock and the bases, that's been a story. And the games have definitely are going by quicker. They peeled 20 to 25 minutes off of most games. But the big stories are Texas Rangers, Baltimore Orioles, Cincinnati Reds, teams that are in places that nobody thought they would be, especially as we're, starting the second half of the season after the All-Star break. So that's been the big story. And, of course, Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds, he's a phenomenal player. If you hadn't checked him out, you need to do it. Now, on the other side of the coin, the Yankees are struggling, but they've had a lot of injuries. The Cardinals, they hadn't had a losing record in like 25 years, and they're staring one in the face, And I think that, there's a lot of good storylines. And now we're going to have to put up with till now to July 31st. Ohtani trade. Does he get traded? Where does he get traded? We're going to be sick and tired of hearing about that. There'll be other trades, other moves made by teams, the buyers and the sellers, and we'll just have to wait and see exactly how it goes down. But it's going to be a fun thing. And, Ronnie, you mentioned all the teams in the hunt. That's good for baseball. It's good for the different fan bases to have their team having a legitimate chance to get to the playoffs. And, we'll see how it goes.
I'll tell you the biggest surprise to me is the Marlins. The Miami Marlins find themselves 3 games or 3.5 games over the line to be in the playoffs at the moment. And look, nobody thought going into the season that the Miami Marlins were going to make the playoffs, but they had the best record, I think, in the month of May or June or something like that. And so that's a big surprise. And the Cincinnati Reds, not only are they having a great year, but they are the most entertaining team in Major League Baseball. Like, all of a sudden, the Cincinnati Reds are cool. I mean, their games are sold out or 90% full. And they're like, it's amazing how 2 franchises, talking about the Marlins, talking about the Reds, that were just nobody, obviously if you cared about the Reds, you cared about because of their history. And the Marlins, I mean, so much going on in Miami and the disappointment with them cutting all their good players a few years back. And, they ran Derek Jeter out of town and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden now, these 2 franchises that nobody cared about a year or 2 ago are now the hot stories this year.
Well, keep in mind, Jake Fraley is making a decent contribution, starting a lot of games for the Reds, former
Tiger.
Yeah. So, so Jake's up there with his big old beard thing, whatever. But, and I've seen him play a little bit, so it's been fun. Me, Ryan, I've been a Rangers fan for a long time, so it's a pleasant surprise to have them doing well. But they loaded up the lineup, the roster, and then the Grom got hurt. They're doing this without the Grom, so kind of like LSU doing it without Skeens. I mean, it's a pretty big thing. So it's going to be fun second half, and again, everybody's in action tonight, league wide, and we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, the one team disappointed me is obviously my buddy's the manager. Pete Foles, the manager of the Chicago White Sox. They've been brutal this year. They've been decimated with injuries. They lost their top 3 relievers one in spring training, the other 2 the first 2 weeks of the season. They've had all kind of issues. So unfortunately, it's not looking real good there. But as far as the De La Cruz with the Reds, I would say this, Tommy. In my mind, he's the most exciting baseball player. As far as like somebody that I would buy a ticket to go watch him play specifically, there's not many of those. I mean, outside of somebody like if it's an LSU player and they're in the big leagues and you happen to be in that town, you're going to want to go see him play. He is that guy. He's one of the top 5 most exciting players I've seen in my lifetime.
Well, now, let me say this, too, for those that may have missed it. We talked about Davis Mesh, the Iron Man for Rougarou last night. De La Cruz also did something. In one at-bat, with someone else was batting, he was on first. He stole second, stole third, stole home during the same at-bat for his teammate. That has never happened before in Major League Baseball. It might not ever happen again. So that's the kind of things he brings to the table. Aside from the fact that he can hit, he hits bombs. He hit one with 460 feet the other night. He's incredibly athletic. He looks like a guy who could do what Davis Mesh did and play all 9 positions. Now, probably not going to happen in the major leagues when they're in contention. There's the times when that has happened in the major leagues. Teams were way out of contention when they let the guy, hey, we're going to do this, try to sell a few extra tickets tonight. But so no, De La Cruz. Here's your tip for everybody. You've not seen him play, figure out a way to watch the Reds or get some highlights, Google it, whatever. This guy, he's something special.
I tell you, he really is, Tommy. I mean, he's the fastest guy, arguably, I've seen on a base path. He's got as much power as anybody. There's nothing he can't do. He brings an excitement and exuberance to the game, a flair that is impressive. I mean, it's just wow. I love watching him play, and I don't care anything about the Reds. And that says a lot. Like, because if I was in a town where he was, I would buy a ticket to go see him play. And I don't say that about a lot of people.
Well, Ronnie, the Reds are special to me because Julian Mock was the scout from the Reds who told me they were going to draft me late in the draft. And, another draft came and went last week, and I stood on that phone call.
Yeah.
Bobby so Julian Mock, he saw something in me. I don't know what. But he told me in the Church's Fried Chicken in Hammond, he was turning my name in to be drafted late.
So 2 things happen every year. Bobby Bonilla gets a check from Major League Baseball, and Tommy Krysan doesn't get a draft pick by Major League Baseball.
That's it. Boom.
All right. So So the All-Star game, there's been continued fallout on the uniforms. Let's all keep cross our fingers. We go back to the old school way next year. We shall see. We move on. Some news out of the NCAA. Greg Sankey's going to stick around a little bit longer and make more money. The commissioner for the SEC. All kinds of goings on up at Northwestern, not Northwestern State in Natchitoches, but Northwestern University in Chicago. They fired their baseball coach. They fired their football coach. But let's talk about Sankey for a minute.
Yeah, Greg Sankey gets a contract extension. He's in his 9th year as commissioner of the SEC. That's a quick 9 years. But he's the most powerful commissioner. He's the respect that he has. And he, along with many people, including Herb Vincent, dear friend of yours, they get a lot of credit for the SEC. It just means more what they have done with this conference, top to bottom, with the expansion, the women's sports, the national championships, the attendance. We can go on and on. Greg Sankey has done an incredible job as the commissioner. He's got as much respect in the world of college sports as anybody has ever had or may ever have. Now, I didn't know this about Greg Sankey until I read some stuff earlier this morning. He was one time the compliance officer and academic services guy at Northwestern State up in Natchitoches. He also was the coach of the golf team for the Demon golf team in Natchitoches. I first met him when he was an assistant commissioner at the Southland back in the day with Hal Mummy football, Southeastern or whatever. But so he spent some time in Natchitoches, as many people in the sports world have done as coaches, and then took that step to the next level. But I did not know Sankey had a little demon blood in. Probably been, he might have to be in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame one day because of his tenure at Northwestern State.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how many people, if you go back, especially baseball coaches, it's funny how many people have made their way through Natchitoches. And speaking of Natchitoches, I was there obviously all week and saw Coach Ed Ogeron was in Natchitoches. Unfortunately, it was under difficult circumstances. He was there to speak at a good friend of his funeral. Jack Britton, they call him Britt. Anybody who's spent any amount of time in Natchitoches knows the name Jack Britton. The Britton name that goes back over 100 years in that community. Jack was the super host of Natchitoches. Probably any cute girl who went to Northwestern State and spent 4 years over there. Got a drink from Jack. He was like, if the sororities were in town and he was at a bar, he'd buy them all around. I mean, he was just a super guy and a big supporter of Northwestern State. He played there. His family, he went there. His family went there, and also a friend to Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. He was Doug Ireland's best friend. He passed away, unfortunately, on Monday. They had the funeral yesterday, and there were a lot of folks from all over the state that came to, in the country for that matter, came back to see to see his family and show support for Jack. And Coach O actually was one of the speakers at the funeral yesterday in Natchitoches. But I did not know that about Greg Sankey. I mean, that's pretty interesting. And I didn't listen. The one thing North Natchitoches does not have, unfortunately, is a really nice golf course. They have a goat ranch of a golf course that's a little, right across from the campus. So I'm unfortunately, if you want to go play golf, you got to drive like 40 minutes, to go find a decent golf course. And there's some nice ones nearby, about an hour away, but there's nothing right there in Natchitoches. So Greg Sankey probably struggled a little bit, Tommy, as the golf coach over there at Northwestern State.
Hey, but at least he's got Natchitoches in his blood. He's got demons, I'm sure. I'm sure he's got some purple and orange gear somewhere in the back of the closet, the whole bit.
Northwestern, by the way, Fitzgerald, who is this beloved linebacker back when he played 20-plus years ago, and then, took over as a coach, been the head football coach there for 17 years. They run him out, fire him. Now we find out today the baseball coach has been fired. He only had been the baseball coach for like a season. They had a bad year, but they're saying that he was, that he was abusive, verbally abusive or whatever. I mean, whew. Tommy, it's a good thing they didn't have cell phones and things like that back when you and I played, because I don't know that many coaches would have survived.
You got that right. I mean, nowhere. But no, it's tough, man. It's tough when you read about all that. Fitzgerald's owed like $42 million, but they fired him for cause, which means if that stands up, they don't owe him 42 cents. Okay, so and I'm sure there'll be a settlement. It'll probably take a while, but then also the question comes up about, does somebody hire him as a coach? He was a linebacker. Is he a defense? He's probably a defensive guy, is my guess. Does somebody hire him as a coach? He'll end up in Tuscaloosa. Saban's got a habit of recycling these guys that have had some issues. And I say he's had issues. It hasn't been for what?
Especially good coaches, and he is.
Yeah. So he'll be an analyst for Saban probably within a couple of weeks, is my guess. But so it's an unfortunate situation, and and I don't know if it happened or it didn't happen, but a handful of players can cost a guy a $42 million contract without more due diligence and finding out what he did know or didn't know. And I get it. If they had a hazing problem and he didn't know about it, that stops on his desk. He's the head coach. He's supposed to know. And in football, it's difficult when you got 110 guys when you count. You got all the non-scholarship guys, and you walk on. You got over 100 players, not to mention another 100 on the staff between equipment people, trainers, and analysts and operations guys. I mean, the girls. I mean, it's a 250 people operation. I don't think you can know everything that's going on, but if it's hazing or in today's world it's racism or it's abuse, then you better know or have somebody letting you know what's going on. Brian Kelly's got them little groups of players that keep an eye on all this kind of stuff and report back to a certain coach. I mean, you gotta have a plan, and maybe they didn't at Northwestern. I'm speaking a little bit out the box because I don't know. Just all I know is what I've read in the last handful of days.
Well, you say the hot words abuse and racism, and schools are going to scurry for the hills. They may not.
And hazing.
Yeah,
You got hazed at LSU. I got hazed at Southeastern. Now hazing might have been I had to carry the senior's bag and put it on the bus. Or I had to be go walk the fence at the end of the practice, make sure it wasn't a ball that we didn't pick up from BP. And now was that hazing? And to me, it was. It was part of being a freshman.
Yeah, it's a different world these days. And then you mentioned any of those three words. They're hot words. People run for the hills, and there's not much that you can do about it. Yeah. The one thing you would have thought Fitzgerald would have gotten Northwestern, who's a beloved figure. This guy he is on their Mount Rushmore of coaches and
no doubt
all that. And you would have thought he would have gotten the benefit of time. Hey, we'll suspend you. Let's investigate this. And then, fully and decide whether to reinstate or what to do. He did not get that benefit. And that, to me, is the surprising part.
Craig Shelley makes a good point. They kept every assistant in the football program. Really? Like, okay, so they all also didn't know or did know. It's a oogie story, to steal your word. It's an oogie story, and it's going to get a lot uglier before it's over.
All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's and where we're going to be tomorrow.
Tremonti's has got lunch special today, fried catfish, top with crawfish etouffee. They can do the on-site catering. You can start thinking about all your tailgating with SEC Football Media Days coming up. They got everything you need here. They got all the whiskey behind me, the wine, everything you need. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway, Baton Rouge, right down the street in Parkview Baptist Church and School. Tremonti's.com. Website's always up to date with things. You can check that out as well. And don't forget Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon on 104.5 ESPN. We'll be at the Bruley Walk-Ons. We always enjoy going on over there and doing a show and getting some good food. You and I will be there. Hunter McCann, another vacation for Hunter. I mean, he got a big travel budget, but we'll be at the Bruley Walk-On. We'd like you to come by. The doors open at 11. We'll be on the air 10 to 12. We'll have a lot of fun, lots to talk about over there, no question about that. And then, of course, Saturday night, don't forget the Rougarou at home against the Bombers. Pete Goolsbee Field, first pitch at 7. World's tallest umpire, shortest umpire, Chris's specialty meat, hamburger special. Kids, adults, plenty to do for everybody at the Rougarou. Want to see you at Pete Goolsbee Field Saturday night. Make plans now.
By the way, Brian Kelly, and we'll talk about this on Monday morning. Brian Kelly scheduled to speak around, 12:30?
12:30. I emailed Michael Barnett this morning. 12:30, he's on the main thing. He and the players that are going will do, Radio Row, if you will. But his main platform, he will speak 12:30 to 1 on Monday. And then, of course, it goes from Monday to Thursday. And the SEC Network, they 49 hours of coverage. So I don't know. It's amazing.
All right. He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll see you tomorrow morning for more Sports Shorts Radio from 10 to noon. Look forward to it then. Please like and share this video. Have a great Friday, everybody.